What up, Cubs fans, and welcome to Cubs on Tap. I'm Ron Luce. We got the whole crew tonight. This is fun. This doesn't happen a lot, so I'm actually very excited, especially for a Tuesday. This never happens on a Tuesday. This is normally a Sunday thing. Nonetheless, I am Ron Luce, joined tonight by Cody Delmendo, Juice, and Joe Mayers. Gentlemen, what's going on? How are we? How we doing?
Nothing, man. Just hanging out, watching the Cubs. I don't know what team this is anymore, but are they just trying to put a bunch of country acts out there? They got Darius Rucker on the mound. Cole Swindell's playing first tonight. I don't know, man. Like pretty soon the Cubs are going to sign Garth Brooks to play left field. I don't know what's going on, man. But it's entertaining-ish, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, keep those shades on.
Yeah, right.
Anytime you're thinking about going to a Cubs game, let's stay home, huh?
Yeah, right. I'm for it's cheaper to just watch it on TV, but who knows with Marquee now? You know what I mean? That's at least one beer. So they traded everybody, and now they're losing in a free fall, which is, I guess, good. You know, it's like the NBA version of tanking. Trust the process, but yeah, we'll talk about a bunch of stuff tonight.
That we will. Gentlemen, what's up? What's going on? Cody, what you up to in your new place? What's your new backdrop?
Guys, it's like I've been thinking about it the last couple of days. It's like you know how everyone's calling the old core is like the end of an era. Well, for like 6 years, so I graduated college in 2015. That final semester I was at Eastern, I was like thinking about like where I wanted to live and shit one day. Yeah, and like Chicago was that place. And it took me 6 years to get here. And of course, it was at the beginning of the old core. And then I finally get here, and the core that I fell in love with is now gone. So the end of an era, but also a new era, I guess you could say. I don't know.
Holy shit,
there's a lot to talk
very
about.
Depressing turn. I hope.
Yeah, thanks, man. I was ready to go to the country concert team.
Dude, I've been so mad reading my Twitter timeline, dude. It's been so freaking agonizing.
You gotta get off that shit, man.
Well, the thing is I've been following the NBA stuff. Following the Bulls moves.
Do you need to go and just like
the Cubs stuff?
Do we want to have
Do you need to mute all the Cubs stuff? Anything? You know, you can mute keywords.
I think I need to mute like anything that has to do with Ricketts.
Yeah, mute Cubbies on Tap. That's all they tweet about.
I almost tweeted the other day. It's like, I'm going to mute all 806 of you. That would have been all the people I follow on Twitter, which wouldn't have been nice because that would include you guys. But you get the point. Like, I just like, I don't know. It's only lately. And the reason is I don't know about you guys, but I'm still upset. Like I said I tweeted Sunday is like, all right, we're moving forward. Fuck, at 11:38 p.m. Saturday night, my sober ass freaking wrote an article about Cody Hoyer's first appearance with the Cubs. Like, what the fuck is going on with me? But to me, when I wrote it, I was like, all right, this is like a little part of me like moving forward, you know. And then on Sunday, you know, Bryant hit the homer, and then we get all the radio stuff this week, and it just feels like Thursday and Friday all over again. Honestly, I need what I honestly need. I need the stuff to kind of die down, but I just feel like it isn't gonna die down.
No,
and it's definitely not gonna die down this weekend when the White Sox come to town or come across town. Like it's just pain, more pain, and just it's inevitable. It's gonna stick around. It sucks. It's hard for me to even care what's going on with like any of the quote unquote like guys that, you know, they're getting a look at and seeing who they want to keep around for next year. It's just, I appreciate you're trying to, you know, be optimistic, Juice, and like just try to have fun with this, but it's hard for me right now, man.
Can we mute him? No, I'm just kidding, buddy.
I'm blaming you for saying that, to be honest with you.
No, I'm just that.
I'm literally here to bitch. I'm literally here to bitch about all the shit that happened on radio. Like that's why I said in Slack, I was like, people care more about what's been going on ESPN 1000 this week with Rizzo and Jed Hoyer than this game right now.
Facts.
So,
well, yeah, I mean that's going to be a given. I want Joe to take a little time here. Joe didn't even get to say hi. Hi, Joe.
Hey, I mean, I haven't really, just like Cody, haven't really had much of a want to check in on daily Cubs. Obviously, I still do it because it's a horrible existence at this moment. But right. I haven't watched it at game 1 through 9 since it happened. It's going. It's just like you get there and you're like, fuck, man. And then you see Rizzo hit a home run. You're like, wow, that's fucking awesome for him. Then you're like, fuck, that sucks, man. And then Javi does it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chris Bryant does it the next day. But what do you like? What are we supposed to think? Like, you're happy because those are our guys wherever they are.
I think maybe I'm just that big of a psychopath. Like, I really much enjoy – I don't know. I really much enjoy building something from the ground up. So I find myself a little bit more excited than the average Cub fan because I think we're going to learn who Jed Hoyer is. We literally don't know who he is at all. I mean, Theo always had the last say, and he's lived like underneath this rock. So I actually went back after all these trades went down. It's like, I wonder what Jed Hoyer did in San Diego when he wasn't with Theo Epstein. And I mean, it's a mixed bag. I mean, there's a lot of, he traded Corey Kluber for Ryan Ludwig, and there's a lot of that, but then there's also a lot of good. Like, so I started looking at it that way just because, I don't know, I'm not interested in the team for the rest of the year. I'm sure a lot of us can stand in that same boat, but the comments, it seems like both parties, players and the Cubs, are going to try to jockey for the rest of the year on whose fault it was, but both are equally at fault in some way, I think. I mean, the Cubs they probably lowballed the hell out of all the players, which, boo-hoo to Ricketts on that. But also, I mean, they had 4 years in a row there that they failed. So it's also, I could see the swing part of it, like, I'd love to have these guys back, but don't want it at X amount of dollars because then we're just complacent and doing the same shit we were doing over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I get, and it sucks because, like, that team won a World Series, but with that said, man, like, I'm really interested to see who Jed Hoyer is. I want to see how he builds this thing. And all indications say that he wants to build through contact hitters, and we'll see what lies on the pitching because a lot of these guys are still Theo. So, I mean, in the short term, this is going to suck. But the psychopath in me loves to think about, maybe 3 years down the line or 4 years down the line, like what this even looks like and what can they do now to shorten that time limit between being bad and getting good again.
So that's why I'm not understanding all those people that are, all right, here come, get ready for the next 108 years. The lovable losers are back. That's just not what's happening. The Cubs are, whether you like it or not, the Cubs are going to go out and try their fucking hardest. They're going to spend the money necessary. They might not spend it in one big spot, but they're going to spend it. They're going to spend it trying to compete. They may end up only being the Cardinals, You're like, oh, hey, are the Cardinals going to play for first place this year? Maybe. The Cards going to make the playoffs? Maybe. They're going to be one. That might be all they become. But man, they're going to try. I mean, they're going to go for it. They're not, especially in baseball. There's no fucking tanking in baseball. Only to a certain extent because you're going for draft picks, but then who the fuck knows when you're with those draft picks? I mean, you see Kumar Rocker just didn't get signed. Who's the guy that got drafted ahead of Bryant? Appelt?
Mark Appel.
Yeah. Like, it's just
Houston Astros legend.
Yeah, it's just not the same. So it's just not going to be like that. I mean, they're going to go out, they're going to have to, I mean, it might be in international free agency. It might be in regular free agency. They're going to do what it takes to be competitive. We might not ever reach that peak, but it's not going to be fucking 20-year playoff droughts.
Don't you think in broad strokes they have too many resources to fail? I mean, if they realistically, they are a huge market with a huge draw of Wrigley Field. And as much as we want to, badmouth Ricketts, they do. I mean, go look at his wealth. I mean, there is money to spend. It's just a matter of how they spend it from here on out. That's why I'm like, is Jed Hoyer good? It's a question I want to ask everybody. Was Jed just the guy sitting behind Theo and, obviously making his suggestions? Or is Jed Hoyer like a baseball genius or a great baseball mind? Something to ask, because there's not a long sample size of him being in charge without Theo being right next to him.
I just think there's a lot of things to be not appreciative of, because right now there's nothing to be appreciative of. But you see that the Cubs, they went out and made a fucking decision. I think there's no better example than the fucking Rockies that we're playing right now. They didn't trade anybody. What the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
They're paying Arenado's salary for him to play on another team. They didn't trade Story, who's going to leave most likely, and they didn't trade any of their somewhat decent pitching pieces. What the fuck? And the Diamondbacks. What the hell are the Diamondbacks doing? Like those teams are fucked for 5 to 10 years. Nobody's going to want to go there. First off, they're not a big market, so that doesn't help in the first place. So that's why it makes it even worse. Yes, the Cubs have that big market to fall back on, but they're also positioning themselves and not depending on that. So the Cubs went out and they made a decision. They're like, they could have hoped for a Giants like resurgence 3 years from now. Re-sign everybody, keep everybody around, hope for that Giants resurgence that you get somebody like a Kevin Gosman or something like that, and it just happens to work out. But that's realistically, what the hell is that going to happen?
Yeah. As I say, I feel like everything the Giants are doing right now, though, is still kind of a product of what Jed's trying to do, which was they had a fresh wave of talent roll through too. A lot of these guys that have played up this year that nobody's heard of is literally because nobody's heard of them because they were in AAA and AA and such. So, I mean, and even in their case, though, I think it's a little different though because they didn't really have 3 superstars. It was really just Buster Posey and a couple other guys, and maybe Crawford. I could argue because of his glove, he's maybe gotten into that at least elite echelon. Where,
but you think without those resurgent years from the older guys, they're not there right now. Yes, they have all those contributions from the newer guys, but without Buster Posey, Buster Posey is going to be the starter for the All-Star game.
Yeah, I was going to say he looks like Buster Posey of old. I mean, he looks like himself again. And I know 19 he was pretty hurt, and then 2020 he didn't even play. So maybe that was just a product of okay, he was hurt for a year, but because of 2 years with no baseball, it is what it is. But nonetheless, I mean, I agree. I think that's a really good way to think about it because it is such a weird situation right now. And Cody, going back to I know what you wanted to talk about, and I think it's very necessary, is the noise, really, right? I guess that's the one way I can simplify it into one word is it's the noise, right? It's these radio interviews. It's right now that Marquee Sports has frickin' Tom Ricketts sitting there on the couch with Cole Wright, and they keep bouncing to him between pitches and shit. It's all a PR spin right now, right? This is just the Cubs trying to cover their ass because of the backlash. I mean, so many fans, and again, Juice and Joe and even Cody, you guys have all mentioned it to this point too, which is good. It's sure there's fault on both sides, but when the Cubs are going on this PR tour, this feels so Blackhawks to me, and anybody that watches the Blackhawks heavily will know exactly what I'm talking about. When they were going for the rebuild and they had Stan go on every podcast in Chicago to talk to people and do this big media tour. It kind of feels the same way right now with the Cubs, where they're legitimately begging people not to think this is a 4-year rebuild because they can feel the pressure that people aren't going to start showing up to games if they start to suck again. And it's interesting, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it because it's a big kind of clusterfuck right now, if we're being entirely honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to ESPN 1000 today as they did that interview with Anthony Rizzo, but the point I'm about to make right now is they were talking about after they did. They were doing what they do, crosstalk. I think it was Cap and J Hood, and then Carmen and Yurko who come on after that.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they were talking about like Wrigley, how Wrigley's going to be over the next couple years, and like one of them, I don't know who it was, but one of them mentioned it's going to be like White Sox North, and I don't know if whoever said it was a Sox guy, but like I'm just like, brother, I did not move 3 red line stops away for this entire neighborhood to be full of white and black. I did not work 6 years to finally get here for that. So yeah, I don't blame the Cubs for trying to cover their ass right now and try to convince people that they're going to spend, because if they don't spend, they're going to get shit on at the Cubs convention in January.
Unless he's going to cancel his party.
They'll cancel the Cubs convention, or Ricketts will cancel his session as he used to do, in which his sessions, the last one he did was whenever they announced the marquee. And everyone has that famous meme or whatever of Ricketts just shrugging his shoulders like marquee,
Yeah.
But it would be, again, just like them not letting Brian or Rizzo bat last Friday or Thursday, whatever it was. Like, it'd be a slap in the face to fans if they didn't try and put a competitive product out there. I'm not asking them to go out and spend, I don't know what the payroll will be. What is it, like $55 million? I'm not asking them to go out there and spend the $150 million this offseason. I'm just asking you to go out there and put some pieces out there. You know what I mean? Like, go get some guys. Like, I tweeted the other day, like, because a lot of people are down on having Nick Madrigal and Nico Horner as like our middle infielders because they don't have power.
Is there somebody here wearing sunglasses that has that same take?
If Juice does, I'm not sure. I'm interested to talk about it because it's a popular topic right now. But my take on it is that the Cubs could play Nico Horner all over the field. Like, they've already kind of done that this year. And then I was reading some tweet, everyone's saying that they're both injury prone. Both guys haven't even played full major league seasons yet.
Right.
It's like people are already given up on it. And I'm like, see, now it's getting back to like why I'm just in a shitty mood when it comes to the Cubs. But like they have like we've already kind of said, like, they have some guys, they just got to go out there and compliment some of these guys. Obviously, they're going with the high contact. Now, if it's not going to be Brian or Rizzo or Baez, then go get someone else. Why not Corey Seager? Why can't he be the shortstop? And then put Nico at second and put Nick Madrigal in left. Or if there's a DH next year, I guess maybe DH him, because apparently he can't play defense, according to people, even though he's never played a full major league season.
That's so White Sox in the same vein, where Madrigal gets traded and what's his name, Steve Stone goes on radio. Well, none of us really liked Madrigal in the first place. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
I hope someone sends that clip to Nick Madrigal and he just like Jordan and I took that personally, like meme type shit. Like, like Steve Stone will stand every single player on that goddamn team, tweets about him every fucking night, and fucking says all these things, says all these guys are good players, but then they make a trade with the Cubs and suddenly Nick Madrigal is trash. Like, get the fuck out, man. And it pains me a little bit because I grew up with Steve Stone, man.
Right.
Him and Chip Carey. Like, I grew up with him. But he just, like, it's probably more so because the Cubs, how he exited with the Cubs is that he's just an old bitter man about it still, which whatever. But like,
that happens when you hang around Hawk Harrelson too long.
I agree. I completely agree. But yeah, I'm kind of swirling around all kinds of different avenues here. But yeah, no, Tom Ricketts on fucking marquee right now. Yeah, he should be on fucking marquee. He should be fucking answering all questions people have. He's going to send out that bullshit fucking press release of like 5 sentences announcing, how much he thanks those 3 guys that were here, and that's it. And then he sends that season ticket holder, letter to people explaining that this is how we're going to do things. Like, fucking go on radio, go on somewhere and at least stick up for yourself, because hiding behind the screen isn't going to help you.
That's why this whole radio thing with Jed, you better be fucking telling the truth if you're going to go out there and say we did everything we could to re-sign these guys, because I mean, Rizzo, the day after, comes on and says, well, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's exactly what happened. Like, of course, the fans are going to side with Rizzo, regardless of regardless. So you have to know that. Like, you better come out and say.
I'm honestly in the middle. It leads me back to just blaming the Ricketts, because why would Jed say all that? And after all the heat he's already taken for making the trades, why would he say any of that? And then potentially put him and those players into a bad relationship, even though he sent them where they wanted to go. You know, I think it goes back to what Juice kind of said. Like, maybe the Cubs did lowball him, but also maybe the players they valued themselves higher than what they really are. I don't know.
How good is Jed? That's the other thing, man. Like, we were spoiled since 2011. We had the guy who was maybe the best in the MLB at PR, who understood the room, prospects, great with trading, great in free agency, and now how good is Jed? Like, that's the question that everybody needs to start asking, because it's clear that he says a statement and then he comes out today and backtracks it. It's like, dude, part of your job as president of baseball operations is to not make those decisions or those statements, because there is a short-term, a short-term bump back that these guys could be back if you just shut your mouth. And now you're airing all the grievances about the contract negotiations. It's like, dude, the thing you needed to say when you went on any radio show, and Cub fans would have hated it, sure, but it frames it the way you need to frame it, is we didn't feel like we were contenders. We understood that we were in fourth place. Let's trade to restock the farm system. Everything is on the table for the future. That's it. At that moment, you calm Cub fans, and you say, in a way, you say, yeah, these guys could come back, and you don't rule it out by saying, this guy didn't want to negotiate with us, and this guy didn't want to take this dollar amount. Not only do you do that, but you get to restock the farm system, and you don't come out, you don't play circles around all the crap that has happened, because now he has to, obviously, like I said, retract his statements and say, I was a little fired up when I got on the radio station. Dude, that's your job. Yeah. Like, how good are you at this? Like, that becomes my question. And that's dangerous, because if he's not good at this, the Cubs are in trouble.
But again, though, I don't see why we can't at least take stock in some of it. Maybe he's exaggerating a little bit, but why not believe him some? And I'm a guy who's been pro player. I've been yelling that we should freaking extend Chris Bryant for years. But I say this because, again, he was thrown into it, honestly. I mean, he didn't have to take the job. Like, after Theo left, he could have left with Theo because he knew that this was going to be a mess too. So in a sense, it's like, all right, like he's finally getting, his chance to run this thing after Theo leaves. But, he could have left too, but he stuck around and he wants to build this thing. It would have been different if it was someone else up there. If it wasn't Jed or Theo, if we had someone else who hasn't done what they have done with this organization. And it goes back to kind of like what you said, Juice. Like, did Theo make all the moves and not Jed? Was Jed just behind, was just a name there? I don't know.
Yeah,
we're going to find out
at the end.
Right. But at this point, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that, yeah, he deserves some credit too for what happened in 2016 and how the organization is at this point. So I'm just kind of like, again, I take a little bit of stock in it, and it kind of hurts me because it makes me think just a little bit different about the Chris Bryant situation and that contract extension. And I don't know. It just brings me back to Tom Ricketts and how everything has happened since 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, we could also go back to the Tribune Company owning the team too, though. Like, that was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, let's first. I know Tom Ricketts has been a pain in our ass since, like you said, 2018. but remember everything that he put in place for the team to be successful. I mean, the Cubs scouts, I mean, going back to pre-Theo, like this Cubs scouting system was ridiculously stupid. Like they didn't have computers, they didn't have like Excel spreadsheets with, even just simple like calculation crap. I mean, they were to the point where they didn't even know who they were picking. Like, I mean, that's how dysfunctional that thing was run. And when they came in, Theo was like, "No way, dude! Like, let's advance like 6 generations worth of, actual scouting within a couple of years that they turned that all over." And Ricketts has a lot to like. He's a part of a lot of that. He gave them the resources to do that. And like, I think it's 2 things in this. I think it's one, they lowballed him. They wanted to sign him for team-friendly contracts because they wanted to add more to the team. And Ricketts maybe didn't want to go further with payroll. I'll accept that. But the other half of this thing is that they failed. So there needed to be some change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm totally fine with them maybe being in on a Chris Bryant or Anthony Rizzo or Javi for next year. Maybe you're bringing one of them back. But I think if you're going to rip the Band-Aid off and start this thing all over, I think it's what's best for the team if a lot of those guys aren't included, because it's clear that it just doesn't work with all of them together. So maybe 1 or 2 is the max that you can bring back, but I'm no chance I'm bringing all 3 of them back again. And I think that's less likely. And I don't know. I'm excited, man. And I know we talked about Nick Madrigal a little bit. I was down on Nick Madrigal for a really long time, and it's because I'm not when I build baseball teams, power. I'm interested in the case study, and I'm not down on Nick Madrigal. I don't think he's bad. I just more or less want to look at. I wish I was a fly on the wall for the negotiations. Mm-hmm. Like at that moment, I thought that they could have got a better deal, but I don't know that. Because I think a return was possible. I mean, they're talking about KB, that report that came out with the Rays, that they were going to package KB and Kimbrel for Tyler Glass now.
Yeah.
Sign me up. If the Rays didn't want to do it, hey.
Well, not anymore, because now he's about to have Tommy John. But
but even that.
They said that actually was something that held the trade up in the article that I read.
Yeah, he's only going to have 1 full year for Yarb.
They were also in talks with the Dodgers too, but then the Dodgers made that move for Scherzer and who was the other guy that came with him?
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner.
Yeah, that throw.
I mean, maybe the pieces that they sent for those guys, maybe Jed was interested in them, and that's what stalled those. And then in a sense, I guess you can blame Jed for not pulling the trigger earlier. I don't know. This is all just hearsay, but
I'm surprised, just speaking on the Dodgers in general, is how are they able to keep on or hold on to Gavin Lux and all of these things? Unless generally people are down on him.
I'm not sure.
How are you getting that and not having to give up a major league guy, which is crazy, And I think trying to compare, you see all of those trades that the Cubs made, pretty much every trade made is all major leaguer from one side, prospects returned. So I think it's weird judging a trade, when you're trading a major leaguer and getting some major leaguers back, because you're well, what the hell's wrong with them? It just doesn't feel right. Doesn't compute in a baseball mind. So I think that's weird in the first place. So and it's because you've seen what they can do. Obviously, Nick Madrigal, like we've mentioned, injury prone, not really any power, but we've literally seen what he can do against major league pitching, because you've seen guys either fly through the minors, love everything you see with them, Schwarber, Bryant, and that's I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's just weird when you're seeing just a major league return only. So it feels weird.
Yeah.
Where I think the thing with that deal in particular is I think we got maybe we did, maybe we didn't, but maybe we got a little too high on what we think we could have got back for Kimbrel and just kind of Xing out like the market in general for just the entire deadline. Maybe if there's anything I'll complain about the trade with the Sox was that they just didn't get another guy like just like a throw in or something. I don't know, but in a sense, you can look at it as the same as the Gleyber Torres trade. Like you didn't know what Gleyber Torres was going to be when we traded for Chapman. But the three guys that went with, I mean, Billy McKinney's in the league, but I don't think the other two guys are. So essentially, the Yankees got Gleyber Torres and for Aroldis Chapman. I mean, that's a reliever, and Craig Kimbrel and Aroldis Chapman are right around the same echelon, right? Kimbrel's probably better than him, and you get two major leaguers and two that look really solid, both really young. I mean, in a sense, you can kind of, if you look at it with that way, I feel like you can look at it as a win, but maybe some people just really thought that they could get, two major leaguers and a top prospect or something, or one major leaguer and like the top prospect and one of the top prospects in baseball. I don't know. I don't know. But I mean,
I think
for me, that's how I kind of look at it.
I feel like this shows like the over evaluation of prospects at this moment, where you're like not thrilled about getting two young major leaguers who have had success in the major leagues. Where you're like, well, I wanted the top prospect. Well, the top prospect, you might never even see him in the major leagues.
Right. Well, and or just will be a big giant bust. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the one thing too. I think a lot of people forget with that trade. I was actually talking to one of our fellow Sox on Tap people about this. It's like, I think people kind of lose sight of the fact that if it wasn't for the 2020 season, there's a very good possibility that Cody Hoyer and Nick Madrigal would both still be prospects. Like, I think a lot of people kind of forgot that. Like, the only reason Madrigal's not the top prospect for the White Sox right now is because he played up in 2020. And they felt okay giving him a shortened season. And then he would have still started this season in their prospect rankings, even if he came up early in the year like he ended up doing. He would have been their top prospect, and Cody Hoyer probably would have been in the top 10, like because Hoyer had a really good 2020, and that was his first season. So, I mean, both of these guys, even by games, are still technically rookies. Like they are effectively the top prospects. That's kind of how I took it. Is like they're just the most major league ready top prospects because they've already gotten a taste of the big leagues, and they're just going to help you sooner. It would be like the equivalent of when the Cubs drafted Schwarber, and he was just more MLB ready than some of the other guys in that draft because he was a college guy and he came up quick, except in this case, you get it via a trade, but they're effectively the same thing. I think that's what a lot of people lose grip of too, is like, if you really slotted everybody in, even using like 2019 rankings for some of these guys, like Madrigal's a top prospect in baseball at that time. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Like he's still a very high upside player. And again, like Juice said, I think a lot of Cubs fans are just dialed in to think, oh, power, power, power. That's how we build a team. Where I think it's going to be refreshing having a guy that does literally everything the Cubs don't do in the freaking batter's box.
Especially since all the success we saw this year was due to that back end of the lineup having all that contact with Duffy and Marisnik and all that kind of stuff.
Especially early in the season. They played a lot of small ball early in the year where it was, like you said, it was Duffy smacking a double in the gap. It was Marisnik hitting a bloop single. It was, sack flies. I mean, that's where the whole, your arm hair is standing erect. Cody started with manufactured runs. Like that was the offense, and they were really good doing that. And then they got away from that because of some injuries, and they became the same old Cubs. And that's what ultimately led to their demise, is because that, I think, going back to points that you guys have all made about like, all right, well, is Jed the guy and this, that, and the other? Maybe Jed now saw that, like, and like Theo, because those were Theo's guys, right? Like, even though I think Rizzo was more Jed's guy than Theo's guy in the essence of, don't forget, Jed traded for Rizzo to go to San Diego. And then when they came here, they were like, no, we needed him to come with too. Like, I think he could be more Jed's guy. But, I mean, KB, Schwarber, all those guys were like Theo's guys, right? And so I think for Theo, maybe it was hard to be like, well, I want to turn over some of the roster, but like these are also my guys. But like at the same time, I'm not getting the money to do the turnover that I want to do. So like maybe that was part of it. And then Jed finally was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care anymore. I'm not living in Theo's shadow. I'm ripping this bitch down the way I need it to. If I want a couple of these guys back, I'll make it happen. And let's play ball. You know what I mean? Maybe he wants a smaller lineup because he saw the success they had earlier in the season with that small ball mentality. Obviously they're not going to be like the White Sox are right now and just being like bottom 5 in home runs and winning a bunch of games. That very rarely happens because they also have the pitching to supplement that. But like, even if the Cubs are middle of the pack in terms of like balance, I mean, again, the 16 team could nickel and dime you to death, and they could also hit the long ball to death too. And that was when they were most successful.
We talk about Chris Bryant's base running all the time, like especially in 2016, 2017, 18. It felt like the base running, we were going first and third every single time we had a guy on first base and a hit. It's stuff regardless if you move to a more contact oriented team, you need that thump to bring those guys in. You can't just depend. You can't depend on singles and singles and singles all game. That's how you get big innings, but those big innings are still capped off by some thump. So it always has its place, but it can't.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we're done with it being the focal point.
Right. Well, again, offseason will tell. They got it. I mean, obviously they're setting themselves up with some nice contact guys, but you do have to have some power in there. Got to diversify the lineup, like we always say. So it's not going to be 9 guys of just all contact, but I do like what they have. I do think Horner and Madrigal, one of them at the top and one of them at the bottom of the lineup, is going to be good for them moving forward. And then, there's still some guys. Patrick Wisdom is leading the NL and homers in the Rookie of the Year chase. There are some things that they can come back and get. I don't think they need to spend a ton of money this offseason, but they got to do something. And then the pitching as well. Hopefully Justin Steele and Keegan Thompson show out this last couple months.
I mean, talk about something. I'd say that's number 1 on my list for the rest of the season. I don't see why it shouldn't be for anybody.
Yeah.
I think any of these young arms, truly, because I think there's going to be some bullpen guys we see later in the season. We were all talking before we jumped on and went live about Ben Leeper, and maybe he's a guy at 24 years old in AAA that we see. Manny Rodriguez, who we've gotten to see a little bit of now, painting the corner at 100 miles per hour. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of these guys, especially on the pitching side, because if you really think about it, this crop that's finally starting to come up is kind of the like Dan Kantrovitz era crop. And I think that's where we're going to see, speaking of, like Juice said, we're going to really learn who Jed is. I think we're going to finally really start learning who Dan Kantrovitz is, because a lot of these guys they started putting in place when he joined the team in, circa 2018, 2019. You're going to finally start seeing some of these guys now make it to the big leagues. Like, I think Rowan Wick was an example of that, who was just at the big league level already, because they got him for next to nothing. And he became maybe not elite, but at least a very good back of the bullpen type guy. Yeah. So I think I think, if somebody asked each of us, was like, what's your one thing for Cubs fans to look for? It's 100% the young arms that are coming, because again, if this team if we think about it, if this team can develop pitching to be as good as, let's say, the Padres bullpen and maybe like the White Sox or the Padres or the Dodgers starting rotation consistently, you could have a middle of the pack contact hitting offense and win a lot of ball games. And I think that's maybe where some of that focus has gone. And it'll be really interesting. Is that the let's keep you awake alarm?
Yeah, I have this. What is it called? Oh, there it goes. I got it off Amazon. I got it off Amazon a long time ago. I don't even remember why I bought it. Sorry.
We had stews, Cody.
As you can see, I still got a ton of crap to unpack. It's been a wild transition.
Cody. I was actually going to say it in the opener. I think we both found things that are worse than the Cubs selling off. Moving is maybe the worst thing ever. Like, I'm moving, obviously, like you've made it known you're moving. I'm moving to South Bend because, Cubbies on tap needs somebody to cover these new prospects. So,
yes,
just making sure,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think moving's maybe worse than trading off a whole core.
True. Perhaps, yeah. We haven't really read any of like the quotes. I mean, from Jed
hold
Hoyer
on.
or Anthony Rizzo.
I think this. Oh yeah, no, that we have not done. Speaking of quotes, though, I do want to give some love to the comments really quick because they have been fantastic. Because this we actually discussed before we jumped on air. So Marty dropping in saying, "Did I miss the part where we talked about the newest Cubs legend, Jonas Vargas?" Was absolutely. I had to like bite my tongue from laughing at that.
What
moment.
a huge miss.
Like,
that there's no
awesome.
T before the G. Like fart gas
Fart
would be
gas.
the best last name ever.
Jonas Schweif fart gas.
Like that
Bought
would be
in the
literally
jersey.
the right.
Build the statue.
And then Dope Redbeard also Frank Schwindel.
Cole Swindell, leave him alone, man.
Yeah, he's playing guitar over at first base. Had his first Cubs extra base hit tonight too. In this
First hit, right? Or unless they had one yesterday.
I think
We're
it's
going to be
Garth
talking
Brooks.
about these guys like
Garth
for
Brooks
the next
and left,
5
baby.
years.
It's coming.
When they're
It feels
when they're like going for it in 2023, we'll be like, hey, remember Frank Schwindel?
Yep.
It's
Like, literally,
It'll still be the new Tony
Brian
Campana.
Brian LaHair.
I was gonna say this is the new Tony campaign. Brian Lair was the exact name I was gonna use.
Yeah.
Like the late Reed Johnson days.
I always talk about Jake Fox. Jake Fox was my dude.
Jake
That
Fox.
was a dude.
Yeah.
Oh man, Thomas
Casey
Diamond.
McGee.
Arismendi Alcantara was my
Arismendi
favorite.
Alcantara.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Who did he
Legend.
came up with I know you're excited about this guy, but don't forget about Arismendi Alcantara. Who was it with? Was it
Pretty sure Jed traded for him too to go to San Diego, if I'm not mistaken.
He was actually kind of, I don't want to say he was a top prospect, but he was a name that people were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we got Alcantaras everywhere.
They are.
Right?
I thought that. Like I was like
It's like
earlier in the
Smith.
season Sergio came up and I was like,
Alex Smith.
brother, relation, any?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I just think Jonathan Herrera is going to go down all the time. We need another Jonathan Herrera to get us going. Right? That was his name,
hell
Jonathan.
I think
yeah.
Herrera was at
Something
least
like
on
Who
a
was the
competitive team.
helmet hands? Helmet
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
Never forget.
Yeah.
Never
That was the
forget.
best.
If
Well,
you
he
know,
was-
you know.
he was
That's a
on the-
real Cubs fan right there.
He
He's
was
on
on the
15.
2015. Yeah, he was on that team. He was a bench guy. Him and Mawasaki, was that his name?
Munenori Kawasaki.
Kawasaki, yeah,
Kawasaki,
Munenori
yeah.
Kawasaki.
He was
the other
Reading an
26
team
article
that-
on.
Yeah.
I'm writing an article on
Hilarious.
tap right now. It's in the
Kawasaki
draft. It's
was
not
the
done,
best.
and his
He did
name is
karaoke.
mentioned. His
Really?
name is mentioned in my article. Yeah,
That's
Interesting.
majestic. I'm so
What
excited. to
what
read
got you to that?
I was listing off all the free agent signings the Cubs made between 2015 to 20. Well, I guess the 2019, going into 2019. I was
Interesting.
listing all the free agent signings that we made. And so
Okay.
yeah, it's
Schwindel's not even a
I get just
lefty hitter.
basically me. Basically, it's setting up to be why I think Tom Ricketts is the blame for all of this bullshit.
Oh.
So
I did see that being worked on in the posts today.
just had to start writing my thoughts out because I got tired of fighting with people on
Ooh.
Twitter, Ron.
Oh,
Fair.
Schwindel
I'm just gonna start
lays
sending
a
people,
rhino.
when people yell at me. I'm just gonna start sending the link when we put it out. I'm just start sending them the article link and be like, "Hey,
Just
I'm not
send
gonna
it.
yell at you, but you can read this though."
This is
That's
my
what I'm gonna
thoughts.
do.
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
my thoughts? Here's my thoughts. Have them. You
got
can
a
have
question.
them free of charge.
Did the Cubs extend Rafael Ortega yet? That's my biggest. That's been
No.
my biggest stand joke lately. Every
Taco
time he gets a
sauce.
hit.
So speaking,
Hey, he's earned
speaking-
himself a job at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of taco sauce Ortega, so I think I'm to blame for his 0 for 3 night tonight because I picked him up in fantasy baseball.
Why?
Because I had injuries happen at the last
How
minute,
hurt
and I
is
was
your
like,
team?
my team's hurt right now, dude. It's bad.
You need to pick him up, man. You shouldn't.
I know, literally, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, today I was sitting here scrolling through my lineup, and in the same day, McCutcheon and Biggio go on the IL, and I'm just like, well, shit, I need to pick somebody
I
up.
mean,
So I go out, and I thought I made a good move, right? And I'm like, okay, who am I gonna go get? I'm like, I'm like, who do I get? I was like, I'm gonna get Haas from Detroit, and I was like, oh, good one, you know, because he was out there. And then I got down and I saw Ortega and I'm like, he's hot. let's go, ride it. And then he goes over
Right.
tonight. I'm just like, I'm totally to blame.
I mean,
totally
Jason Hayward wasn't available in your league.
No, he was, but
yeah,
that's
I
not
know.
surprise.
I'm
That's
just,
not a
I would
surprise, brother.
actually rather have Rafael Ortega right now.
Yeah.
if I end up going like to heaven and God or somebody asked me if I lived a suffering life, I'll say no. But I did watch a lot of Jason Hayward at bats.
I got tagged in a tweet tonight. The guys over at the Dingers podcast, Dingers, the Chicago Cubs podcast. I can't remember what network they're part of, but I got tagged in their tweet. Apparently, one of the guys he has this bet with like his daughter. I guess she's like a little girl, and every time he has to buy his or no, every time Jason Hayward doesn't hit a ground ball to second, he has to get her a bag of Skittles. So like never, because all he does is hit ground balls to second base.
Well, she just got a bag because he just flew out the left. So
there you go. Good for her. Good for her. Shout out to those guys.
Skittles on the docket, baby. Let's
Skittles.
go.
She's like, Skittles, let's go.
Yeah.
Baseball is falling
This
so
is
far.
this is the kind of shit that gets you up for Cubs baseball now, right? Oh, this guy, if he doesn't do this, all right, here we go. I'm gonna win a bet here.
Do we want to
So
start
fun, though.
doing that? Like maybe one game a week for the rest of the season, maybe two. Like each of us pick like some random thing. If this happens today, I'll do this.
Dude, I'm down because I actually was going to propose to all of you guys. What if during these podcasts now, considering that the on-product field, like, it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, we're going to talk about some bullshit on here for a while. Why don't we just do like a 5-minute segment on each podcast where we talk about something non-sports related, non-political related, and just go down a wormhole for like 5 to 10 minutes
and see how we can tie it back into the Cubs.
Yes, absolutely. That was my goal. Like, how do we?
I think one person every week has to move.
Oh, there you go.
Ron, you're next.
Yep, I'm going. But oh my!
I like
God,
that idea.
That would be a gong show.
Wouldn't it be funny, like all the way down into the wormhole, like who killed JFK, and like in the grassy knolls, there's
Tom
Jason Hayward. Just sitting there.
There's Jason Hayward. Yes.
Elias Diaz. Elias Diaz is triple away from the cycle against the Cubs.
I hope he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck
This
it,
is
yeah.
honestly, man, like if you're not going to watch like the young pitchers, like now it's like, all right, who are the Cubs playing? Because I want to watch a team that's actually good do things like on
But
the
the
field.
Rockies
You know what I
are
mean?
not good.
No, so this is bad. Like the last two out of the trade, like the Nats and the freaking Rockies, like, dude, bad. Like that's some like really bad baseball to watch.
Can we talk about John Lester today?
Oh no, we do not.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
Well, spin zone.
Cody,
I'll spin zone it
Double
right
agent.
away. I'll spin zone it right away. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is disgusting. He's wearing Cardinals red," but like it's kind of goes back to the Rockies too. Like the Cardinals should have sold off two at the deadline.
Oh my God.
And they did.
Yeah.
They traded for 2 37-year-old pitchers.
Right, and
starters.
it's
who were
nothing
big
like
guys
it's nothing
anymore.
that they didn't mortgage their future to get J Happ and John Lester, but it's like at the same time, like what are you doing? Right,
Yeah,
like what the hell are you doing? You're gonna go back to your fan base, like, all right, guys, here he is. Here's our stretch run: John Lester, J Happ. Here we go, boys.
John
Like-
Lester way past his prime.
They give
John
him
Lester,
6
too.
runs in 2 innings.
I was gonna say, would you like the final stat line for John Lester tonight?
Yes, please.
Is it bad?
5 innings. Oh yeah, it's bad. 5 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs, all earned.
Nice.
2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and he gave up 2 home runs.
Yeah, just like classic John Lester, he settled in. He gave up all 6 runs in the first 2 innings.
Just
He gave up those
classic
runs in the
John
first 2
Lester.
innings.
He settled in.
Only through 88
Settled
pitches.
in.
Game was over. Settled in though.
Oh my god! See, it's like a gift that doesn't stop giving. Like John Lester, it sucks that he has to be in Cardinal red, but hey, he's sucking for them. It's a gift. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when Eric Sogard was on the Cubs, but for some reason we never thought he was that bad with the Brewers. And you know, or Zach Davies is a better example. Probably Zach Davies was decent with the Brewers, actually probably better than we thought. Better than we thought, and.
We just weren't seeing
Like
every
he's been
start.
okay. Yeah, we didn't see all the other starts. He was just really good against the Cubs, and we're like, oh yeah, this guy is at least serviceable.
Would you
and
like-
He's been okay, but
Would you like
I'm
Zach's
surprised we didn't pitch
final
or
stat line for the night?
trade him.
No.
Oh
that's-
well, we're gonna get it anyway, real quick, because it supports Cody's idea. Davies, 4 innings, 6 hits, 7 runs, all earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout, and 2 home runs.
Did not settle in.
Not so.
No.
Classic Zach Davies.
We're not gonna get in. Like he's gonna walk because why would we bring him back? And there's the loan thing from the deadline that I guess we can be pissed off about. That's
Yeah.
not even about Rizzo, Bryant, or Baez. It's like why didn't we just we send off Trevor Williams with Javi Baez, but we don't send Zach Davies off for anything? We
Right.
would have got more for him than literally Trevor Williams was a throw-in.
He got optioned at AAA immediately.
Yeah, why? You could have sent Zach Davies somewhere.
I saw this.
Zach Davies to the Cardinals. Not that
I saw
really
this.
wanted him
I
to,
saw this
but-
on Twitter. I'm not going to mention who. It's a competitor, but they mentioned the deals must have been the offers must have been so bad that you don't even want to put out there in the ether that the Cubs will accept something like that.
Really.
So I can take that as a reason.
I could see that.
I believe it
Because
They're like, hey, we'll give you a pack of Skittles and the rights to a guy we just signed out of the independent league.
We know a young girl who's got plenty of them.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, or maybe it came down to you're gonna have to just eat innings for the back half of the year, and
Oh yeah.
he does take the ball, so
And that's people are like, oh, get Arrieta out of there. It's like there aren't
Why?
enough young
Who
pitchers.
cares?
There aren't enough young pitchers in the organization that viably could be all right, let's get a look at this guy. No. We need inning eaters. If Jake Arrieta is going to go out there for 5 innings every 5th day, God bless him, because he's going to have to.
Yeah.
Just I don't know who I was talking to about Hayward. We're spending so much money on him. Go play first base.
Do something.
Right. At this
Yeah.
point, you're playing every day. You're going to have to swallow your pride. Go out there and do something.
I am curious to how he feels now. Because he knows the direction of the team and he knows that he's a big reason why things have happened the way that they have. He has to know this.
And I don't know about
never going to admit it publicly, but he has to know he's a big reason why this team is shit right now.
Yeah, because
he is a big reason why.
I think there's times where he gets sad and then he opens up his mobile banking and he goes, "Oh fuck, oh yeah, never mind, I'm good."
Yeah,
he's like, "I'll see you guys in the playpen this summer." All right.
Yeah, right.
It's the facts. I mean,
who did he take on his boat? That was a big story. Somebody that when they signed with it, he took him out on this boat, and
I don't know.
Castellanos.
Yes, that's
Castellanos,
you were.
yeah.
Because he was like, "What was your favorite thing to do in Chicago?" And he's like,
Right.
"Man, we went down the river on Jay Hayes' boat."
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
awesome.
Hey, Ron,
That was awesome.
Ron, you think Castellanos is going to turn down that option and come to Chicago?
Hey, if the mighty dollar speaks, he might.
Yeah, I don't think the money dollar's speaking for Castellanos at this point.
He looked great in left.
He would look great in left.
Yeah.
He's as great as a DH next year when it's in the NL.
Yeah.
If your three
man.
moves are Castellanos,
Oh,
Bryant back, and Rizzo,
Stroman. And give me Marcus Stroman. So
and you bring up Brendan Davis, that's a squad, man. That's a squad.
As I
Throw in
said,
a
that's
couple,
not a bad
couple
team.
1 or 2 year deals that are worth like 5 or 10 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what the Cubs are going at. That's what most likely they're going to be going after. Is my guess. They're in the flyer. They're in the flyer business. So, you're going to see 1 year deals.
Yeah.
Kind of be like, okay, you play well enough. Maybe we'll trade you.
just
Go
think
out there
that,
and earn a trade or something.
the market for first baseman, there isn't much. After Rizzo, it's Freddie Freeman in terms of being better. What else is out there? And then they don't have a lot of depth in the minors. Bryce Ball isn't going to. They can't think Bryce Ball's the answer.
No,
next
they
year.
know that.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
that.
He's
They
ripping
have-
it up in A-ball, though.
He's in Double A, isn't he?
Do you just bring back Bryant to play first?
No, I think Bryant's he's not playing first base for another good 5 years.
I'm just trying to piece together ideas here.
Yeah.
It's an
I mean-
intriguing question. I mean, I'm sure that's something we're going to entertain at one point.
Oh, we're going to talk about
Like,
we're going to talk about Willie out in left field. We're going to talk about a lot of things. I mean,
I keep forgetting. Is it bad? I keep forgetting that Contreras is still on the team just because the way that I feel about the Cubs right now is I just feel like all of them are gone.
He's like I posted the Will Smith gif. He's the Will Smith gif at the end of Fresh Prince. He's looking around.
It's you think like you feel even worse for him because he's behind the plate. You know, he's slapping that gear on.
Yeah.
And for
what you guys think of his
like
comments the other day? I know he's saying what he wanted to say, or I guess what he would have to say, but I also feel like they were genuine. You know how he wants to be part of the rebuild. You know,
I mean, that culture stays. You know, Rizzo leaves. Bryant leaves, Baez leaves, like that. But that culture stays. Like you can see the Cubs having more fun than almost anybody in the entire MLB,
even though they're absolute trash.
Exactly, like it's an environment that you want to be a part of.
I think that's a lot of just David Ross, but I mean, I agree in a sense. Yeah.
Well, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get his shot. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna get. And now, besides Contreras, there is no more. He's coaching his buddies, all that crap. Like,
true.
We're seeing it. We're getting David Ross now. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, literally, the only two guys on this roster that he played with were Hendricks,
Contreras and
Arrieta.
Yeah. Do you guys think that
Hayward? But
Hayward.
Yeah.
Did you guys think that David Ross got played, or looks back at it? No, think about it this way, man. Like he got the job, and he only had 60 games to win it then, and then he has one bad first half. Like you think he looks back and he's like, "All right, cool, I got the job, but now this isn't what I signed up for." Or do you think he had some?
Looks a lot better.
You think he had some? Yeah, you think, or I got a little inkling that I don't know, not that he regrets it, but the job status has changed and. I don't know if this is what he expected this quickly.
In a sense, possibly, because when he got hired, the pandemic hadn't happened yet. We were still months before the pandemic.
Right.
So if the pandemic doesn't happen, and this goes back to just how the pandemic probably hurt the Cubs more than any franchise in baseball. Yeah. You know, maybe they get those extensions done if Brian and Rizzo and Baez put together another set of solid seasons. And I don't know if they would, though, because they didn't do anything in the offseason going into 2020. But, I don't know. You just don't know. But
also the Ricketts don't have the financial burden that they're talking about either if there's no pandemic and full revenue for 81 games. So you're talking about – and then you're talking about maybe an easier transition for Marquee because Comcast wasn't adding – or Xfinity – wasn't adding cable channels to, people's packages during the pandemic either. So it's things move so much more. If that does not happen, and then you're looking at it they're probably all locked up. But then are you in the same issue of you're good enough, but you're not good enough to win it all again? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's a blessing and a curse. Because it's all right, you got to see the 4 years of, the failure in a row. Now maybe this was the best opportunity to – I don't know, man. It'd be interesting. Also, we went back earlier talking about the Cubs convention. Who knows what happens with this strike either. I mean, that's all looming too. Ricketts could legitimately, if there is a strike, hide behind this thing for a whole nother year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he could.
I think
what an absolute brutal 2022 would be for us if that were to happen, though. Just it'd be more brutal than this last week.
It's going to be the replacement,
extending it even more.
I think they're going to work it out. That's my opinion on all of it. But I'm just saying that it is out there. I mean, it's there's two huge issues within both sides that I think that neither of them are going to budge on, easily. But at the end of the day, the owners in the league always seems to win. So, I mean, I'd bet on the league before the players.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I think this coming free agency for Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant is going to tell a lot on who's probably telling the truth
on all the comments from the radio interviews this week.
Right. Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
So
No,
you know,
it's like no doubt that is the
right.
truth. Yeah.
Like is that market is what they want equal to the market?
Mhm.
Were they asking for just something crazy? A part of, I mean, a lot of it depends on how they play the rest of the season as well. So there's still a lot to determine. But
I'll
like
say,
you
go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
like Rizzo's not going to get as far as lengthwise, he's not going to get a ton of years. He's probably looking at 3 to 4 years if he's lucky. And then Baez, he can get some length on it. Bryant, he's probably looking. Am I crazy to say he's probably looking for a 6 to 8 year deal?
No,
I think that's exactly what he's looking for. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I'd say 6 on that end.
A lot of it like that. A lot of it's gonna have to play out in free agency for themselves. I really don't think, especially after these comments from Jed, regardless if he's right or not. It's just it's probably leaving a bad taste in their mouth, especially Rizzo, who came on the next day and talked about it. So I'm not expecting any of them to come back. I know that everybody keeps saying, well, there's still a possibility for them to come back. They might listen to the Cubs, but
yeah. Well,
money talks, brother.
Yeah, there's still some principle, I'm sure, for them, pride kind of thing, but we'll see.
And there's something I want to add real quick to supplement what you guys are talking about here, because our very trusty help, here at writing, for us here at Cubs on Tap, our boy Joey Ricotta, he's made appearances on here. People that are listening have heard of him. He tweeted this just a few minutes ago, and I saw it from the Cubs on Tap account, and I feel the need to share it now. He says, I didn't want to tweet this because everyone knows I love Anthony Rizzo, but I couldn't look at this and not share. He said, Sport Track has Anthony Rizzo's 2022 average annual value on the market listed at $12.835 million. If that proves to be true, the Cubs offered him over $1 million more per year. In theory, and then he adds on it, in theory, if 5 years, $100 million would have gotten an extension done, the Cubs would have paid more than $7 million over his market value. Rizzo's full contract, Sport Track calculated market value, 5 years, $64.1 million, and they reportedly offered him $70. Just an interesting tidbit that kind of supplements that, because it really supplements what Joe is talking about, and what, and Cody, I know you're in agreement. I think we're all in agreement of that, is because the market is truly going to set itself for these guys, and I think we as Cubs fans are going to truly gather an understanding of what the rest of the league thinks about them from a dollars and cents standpoint. And I hate to say it, I love when guys get notoriety and awards and from their players and guys and things like that, because I think that's completely necessary. But if we're looking at it strictly from a business standpoint, that's usually the most telling sign, is what does the rest of the league think from a dollar and cents perspective? Because they could say, we love Chris Bryant as a player, but do you love him enough to pay him $200 million? And sometimes the answer isn't always yes. And so it's going to be interesting. Like, I think that might be something that, this whole conversation we're having right now gets brought back up upon, later on, if we're in December and January and all these guys sign and we go, well, shit, maybe let's just hypothetically throw out there that Rizzo gets 65, Bryant gets 120, and Baez gets a hair under maybe 95. And all of us would be all sitting here like, what the hell just happened? And again, I think the strike too, like you guys have also mentioned at points, is going to have a lot of impact on this too, because in theory, if it gets fixed, then do guys get paid more money? Do guys get paid less money? Do we see?
They might even get unsigned.
Right. Do we see a free agency explosion like what we saw in the NBA the last few days, or the complete opposite, and it gets even worse than baseball already has become, where these guys don't sign for months after free agency opens? Like, there's no even like reason to get excited for free agency in baseball nowadays, because like nobody signs on the first day. A couple guys do, but like all the big names wait. So it's not like the NHL free agency and the NBA free agency and even the NFL free agency, where in like the first 72 hours, most of the monster names have signed. Like, fuck, look at just our buddies over at Bulls on Tap. They got to talk about Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, like
Elmer Fudd,
like
Caruso, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Elmer
like,
Fudd.
but that's exciting. That's in That was in 36 hours.
Mhm.
Not even.
Right.
Actually, excuse me. That was in, I think that was a hair over 24 hours. So, yeah, 36 hours, 24 to 36 hours, somewhere in between there. But, like, that doesn't happen in baseball. And again, I think if a lot of it, too, is the game isn't making as much money because it's, quote-unquote, kind of losing relevance in the grand scheme of the major sports. There's a lot less younger fans coming in, and you can kind of see them like wanting to push their, star players like Tatis and all them, but like not doing it well. And it's like, so you guys just suck at what you're doing. And then it makes more sense why they bring in a guy like Theo Epstein into the front office. It's like, bro, what are we doing wrong? Like, because he, again, like you guys say, he's probably one of the best baseball minds to exist, in the history of this world. And
he did all before 40 or 45,
and like they need to fix the game, because there's a lot of elements of baseball, even in the off-season stuff, that people eat up, and that gives us a plenty to talk about here at Cubs on Tap, and just in general with your buddies and whatnot. But like, when that excitement's not there, like I think it kind of almost loses relevance in a way of like their free agency period being a thing, because it's just like, oh, okay, it's free agency, but like the Cubs are still going to be signing dudes in January. Like, I don't care.
I feel like you can look at all the Chris Bryant. Like, how many times did we see expect Chris Bryant to go this weekend? Shit like that. Where like
the trade deadline.
How do you?
Sorry, Joe.
I meant like in the off season and stuff. Like, how do you? At what point do you like that? Shit means nothing. Chris Bryant didn't go for 3 years, 3 years, whatever. Like, you see all that stuff. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, call me when it actually happens.
Right.
And you see like for basketball, especially, like you see Lonzo Ball is linked to the Bulls for how like 2-3 months at this point. Free agency hits, he's there. Like there's that immediate payoff. There is no immediate payoff in MLB free agency, because you're just like, none of the shit happens immediately. Like you're waiting forever. And I feel like at some point there's got to be some like correction. I mean, like you saw like Arrieta when he signed with the Phillies, like he didn't sign until super late. Right? It was into spring training, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Darvish signed really late too.
Kimbrel and Keuchel in 2019.
Yeah, didn't even sign till like the middle of the summer.
What I was gonna say is they need free agency to be like what the trade deadline was on Friday, without all the pain that we endured. But you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they like Jeff Passan and Ken Rosenthal were just tweeting. It was like they weren't even on their phones. They were on their fucking MacBooks, probably just tweeting this shit out, because they were just getting all their shit, all at once. You know what I mean?
Do you guys think that was a product of the pandemic and a lot of 1-year deals, and that's like a flash in the pan thing? Or do you think that that's like an actual, because there is no second waiver trade, that they're all just going to be more? But I think that it was a perfect storm of a lot of 1-year deals, a lot of sellers, and a few amount of like, think about how many teams actually like dipped their foot and spent like huge prospect leverage to like get better, like to get better this year, thinking like, I think the White Sox are a great example. Like they went out there and filled all their gaps, because I think a lot of them are thinking, I don't know if there's going to be a lockout next year. I may have to win it now, because then you're just one more year down the line of having to pay that core again. That's in a lot of ways too, we talked about how much this messed up the Cubs. The Cubs realistically lost a whole year of their core too, because they only played 60 games last year. So right. I think it's interesting to like look at like what happened for the trade deadline and like free agency. And it's interesting to think like, are 1-year deals just a short-term thing because players are going to start to bet on themselves more to get paid out for that longer contract? Or was it just a matter of the whole situation that was around our country for the last year and a matter of less money to play with because of that? I don't know. It's just interesting.
I mean, like you said, the player, I think obviously it depends on the players, but you see, like, sure. I know Trevor Bauer, piece of shit, but he's on a 2-year deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it has an option for a 3rd year, though.
Crap ton of money, but he's betting on it. Like he cashed in, and And he's instead of signing a massive deal like a Garrett Cole type of deal that has some length to it, he goes, "Let me cash in immediately, and if I play well, I'll cash in again. If I don't, I already cashed in." A lot of it depends on the players, themselves. Sure. Not everybody can just they come off of a Cy Young year, but is that maybe a trend? Well, who knows?
Let's link it real quick to another sport, right? And just how, this was kind of a one-off at the time, but like it still supplements the idea of like, look at the year that the Blackhawks had the shortened season, they won the Stanley Cup. Brian Bickle was electric. And that's a large reason why he got the deal that he got from the Blackhawks. He got a 4-year, $4 million per year deal, which at that time, I know to most people that watch the other big sports are like, wow, that's like no money at all. In hockey at that time, it was actually significant money to pay a guy that literally had like not scored more than 9 goals in a regular season. So like it was a big deal at that time and it didn't pay off. You know what I mean? But he got that, that big payday because he had that shortened season. So like kind of to your point about Bauer and like, but at the same time, do we see more of these guys say, hey, look, the long-term security is cool, but like if I can cash in, like you said, if I can cash in huge 3 years, 4 years, look at the NBA, right? No contract exceeds 4 years, I don't think anymore in the NBA. Like you can move around and bop around and like, do we start to see that in baseball? Do we see super teams in baseball? Like there's 18 different little rabbit holes we can go down just off of this point too of like, it's going to be really interesting. I think the CBA, again, is going to dictate a lot of, like, what is the trend of how players sign contracts and how teams spend money.
Absolutely.
You also don't know, like, the effect on eventually when the DH joins the NL. That's going to spread it out a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I was just saying Nelson Cruz isn't limited to 15 teams a year to sign with.
That would be awesome if he played on each 15.
Yeah.
Oh, like
imagine each night.
He's probably getting there.
Just fly him around for at bats.
I
know Elon Musk is talking about like.
In my mind, a couple of my best friends they're Rangers fans. There's like that stink of misplaying that ball in right field where David Freese hit that triple. That's never gonna escape anytime I hear Nelson Cruz. It's like 1, why was he in the field still? 2, what the fuck was he doing? But that's irrelevant.
Played it right.
Hell, he's already on his 15. Hey, don't forget though, he did play a whopping 8 games in the NL in his career. Fun fact. With the Milwaukee Brewers in 2005.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah. God, could you imagine if we had to deal with him in the fucking NL Central for 10 years when he was like a Ranger at that time?
The Marlins fucked up the NL Central for a little bit there. Giving up fucking Yelich and Marcell Ozuna for fucking bag of balls.
Yeah, Derek Jeter specifically.
Yeah, how's Lewis Brinson doing these days?
Actually, I think he just walked in a run the other night. Fun fact.
Oh, apparently Lewis it doesn't suck now.
I saw a very cryptic tweet from a friend of the program.
The Lewis Brinson part of the podcast.
Yeah, it was like it was all 4 of the guys that scored, or like 3 of the guys that's like got on in the first inning. 3 of the 4 were like from that Yelich trade. And so he like joked it was like, oh, Miami has finally won the Yelich trade. So sorry,
Miami has finally won the Yelich.
They did it. They did it. Lewis Brinson did a good thing.
You guys like believe in aliens?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. I don't know if there's enough. Oh, yeah, and Dope Redbeard helping me out here. Brinson hit a grand slam in the first inning. Woo woo. That's what it was. It was a grand slam, not a walk.
We don't want to go down like
good things happening for the Miami.
No aliens or
no, not tonight. We are at the
on tap to the moon.
Yeah, that's true. We'll figure that out when we get there.
Are aliens there?
Do we want to talk about tomorrow's game at all? No.
Someone's playing someone's pitching. Yeah,
Alec Mills.
Everybody knows. Yeah, it's Alec Mills on the mound.
There we go.
It's another weird 740 first pitch, and John Gray is the other pitcher. That's
I feel like the last however many shows I've been on have been preceding Alec Mills start, and I'll say it like I've said it the last 3 times.
I was on the show with you all 3 times.
Right. Keep an eye on Alec Mills. Like he's here. You know, I know.
He's here. He's still
here.
breathing.
He's not. I mean, he's not going anywhere. Is my point.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on him, like you're going to keep an eye on Justin Steele and Keegan Thompson. Obviously, it's with a different lens, but
tweet out
but
that
still.
damn picture I always tweet out of Alec Mills. And that will describe everything about the 2021 Cubs. Like,
what he's like,
trade deadline.
Yes.
That
Fantastic.
literally describes the 2021 Cubs. Just like, what is going on here?
What is happening? He's just like, what?
Oh,
He's probably
God.
wondering, are aliens real, Juice? That's probably what he was wondering.
Hey, look, if anybody still got the Cubs game on, 15 years ago to the date, Matt Martin, MLB record with 4 doubles against the Dodgers.
Matt Martin.
Oh, Cubs legend.
Cubs
legend.
Wasn't he like a player coach for a while? And like
He was.
I remember he like almost he was trying to make a comeback like 2014, 2015, but he just never got the call up.
Yeah.
But
what's Junior Lake up to these days?
Yeah.
Parking
Once he hit that
cars
home
at
run
the
and celebrated going around the bases, man, his career was done. So Joe Madden made sure of it.
It's fair.
Good old squirting Matt Martin.
Before we get out of here, because I know Ron wants to wrap this up, I just want to say that in regards to the comments on the radio, and I feel like we've all kind of said it, but just like my 2 cents is that, like my full on 2 cents is that, like, Anthony Rizzo, no matter what side you're on, whether you liked him or we all liked him, but if you're on his side or the front office side, I think what he said on the radio just kind of sums up just how the organization, is being run right now. Like for him to say that, he, why, like basically saying like, why is Jed acting like, this or that about a breakup or whatever, like acting like it is a breakup and stuff like that. I don't know. It just hit me in the heart a little bit today. Cause like, this is the guy that like has been the face of the organization for the last decade, and whether he comes back or not. And right after those comments, it makes you feel like he's not, like, it's just not right. And I just hope that the Ricketts and Jed and all of them learn from this. This is a really shitty era of baseball to like, for them to have to go through learning this, but like, I don't know. Like this just cannot happen with like the next crew. Mm-hmm. It just because fans are going to talk about this. Like especially if they do not resign Rizzo, especially like people will be talking about not only the deadline, but then the radio interviews for a long time, especially if the Cubs go on to suck for like the next 5 years and like some prospects don't work out. And then you're getting the vibe of like Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf not bringing Jordan and Pippen back when they wanted to rebuild, after the Last Dance, and they really, really, really fucking sucked for like 5 years after that. So Jed better be fucking right on these guys that are coming up and right on whoever's he's going to get in free agency, because if a guy like Anthony Rizzo is saying what he's saying today, it sucks. And it's just not right. No matter what side you're on, like it just sucks. So like I said, I'm choosing to just kind of be kind of neutral on it. I feel like there's faults on both sides, and it still, to me, points back to Tom Ricketts just not allowing the departments that he's under or that are under him to do their jobs, and at the best of their abilities. But at the same time, there's faults on the players and Jed and Theo. But yeah, so I just want to get that out there if anyone wants to make any comments on it before we get out of here. But
yeah, no, I think you sum it up really well too. Just in the essence of like the magnifying glass is really on this front office and this ownership team now to first off, open the pocketbook at least somewhat, like you mentioned earlier, and B, hit on some of these guys, whether it is those guys you go spend money on or these guys that you draft, because after the way everything ended, with just these guys feeling disrespected by the organization, more or less, at least in the fans' eyes, like you gotta do something to get it right, because otherwise it's gonna already look bad to the players, right? Like even the guys that are replacing them, like that is gonna be something they think about if guys want to come and sign in Chicago. They're gonna be like, well, am I gonna get paid? Am I gonna get disrespected? Like, You know, it might not happen to everybody. There might be a lot of guys that are like, hell yeah, I want to go play for the Chicago Cubs. You get it every year. It happens. But there also might be guys that are like, do I? And that's going to be a lot of pressure, I think, on Jed in this front off or in this ownership group of just like, hey, you guys got to make sure, like you said, learn your lesson and do this right, because otherwise it could get really ugly for a really long time if they do pull a lot of the wrong strings.
Yeah. No, you summed it up perfectly, man. It's just, get the organization back in the right foot, man, because it just like everything that's going on, like it's not even just like our fan base seeing this, but like every other fan base and every other organization is seeing this, and they're hearing what what the players are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And Jed's telling people whatever he's saying, and then you got two different stories. It's just spreading like just negativity around, and it's not looking good on your organization. And we were fed when Tom Ricketts came in that, we were going to be different, that we were going to be, a top tier organization, and that we were going to be not the lovable losers. And the way that you're running things is just not good.
Otherwise, yeah,
it suggests otherwise, and it's just
I
just
think
painful to me.
We got to give them a chance to earn our trust back a little bit. So I think all of us here, as much as we're down right now, I think we're all willing, especially if he's going to open up the pocketbook, we're willing to give him that chance. But that's where he signs his name, what's that dollar amount next to where he signs his name, like that's going to tell a lot.
Yeah.
So
100%. Absolutely. It's gonna be wild, man. There's a lot of crazy shit that's gonna happen these next 6 to 8 months before we, kind of ramp up the 2022 Cubs season. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of juicy stuff for us to talk about here at Cubs on Tap. But gentlemen, any other final thoughts before we go ahead and wrap tonight up?
Aliens.
Are they real?
Build the Joneswini Fargus statue. Joneswini Fargus.
Fargus. Get it right.
Build the statue of that guy. Joneswi Fargus. Build the statue. That's what I want. That's my final thoughts.
I like it. I like it. Well, I do want to remind everybody, guys. Fargus. I do want to remind everybody. Goodbye, Juice. What a moment on the podcast. Like, we're gonna check out Aliens, Fart Gas, good night. That's Juice for everybody. Do want to remind everybody really quick, Cubs on Tap is the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out all of our great work over at www.ontapsportsnet.com and at OnTapSportsNet on social media. You can follow the pod-specific accounts at Cubbies on Tap, CUBBIES, Twitter and Instagram. I am at Luce on Tap. Cody is at Cody on Tap. Joe is at Joe Maris on Twitter. Juice was at Juice on Tap before he left. The Riot 326, Marty Laval, and all of our other great contributors here that do Cubs stuff for us here at On Tap Sportsnet. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, all very busy. Check in on all of our other stuff as well. And yes, Cubs fans, all of us have White Sox friends. The Sox on Tap guys do a great job as well. Go ahead and bring them over to us too. So www.ontapsportsnet.com, at OnTap Sportsnet on social media, the OnTap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Well, gentlemen, quite the loaded episode. So loaded that Juice ended up leaving. And I mean, what do you say? Without further ado, let's get out of here the only way we know how.
Go Cubs.
Cubbies.